All right, let's talk about something that sounds like it's straight out of a spy movie, but it's really happening. We're going to be talking about corporate intelligence, but probably not in the way you're thinking.
So, when I say corporate espionage, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably some slick operative stealing secrets from a rival tech company. The whole Hollywood spy thriller thing.
But what if I told you the real story is something else entirely? The source material we're breaking down today paints a much more, well, frankly, a much more disturbing picture. It reveals a hidden war where the targets aren't competitors, but the very people and groups trying to hold corporations accountable. And that brings us to what you could call a hidden battlefield. You see, major corporations have these huge security departments doing what they call threat assessments. And guess who's on that threat list, right next to industrial spies? Yep, nonprofit organizations. They're seen not as critics, but as enemies to be neutralized. And here's the kicker. These operations are designed to be completely invisible. The thing to remember is that most of these cases never, ever see the light of day. Everything we know has been cobbled together from whistleblowers, from document leaks, and sometimes just pure dumb luck. We are absolutely just seeing the tip of a very, very large iceberg. So who exactly is carrying out these secret missions? Well, you can forget about the kind of clumsy private eye you'd find in the phone book. We are talking about a very sophisticated and very rapidly growing industry of private intelligence firms. Think of it like a revolving door. You have this constant flow of people moving from the highest levels of government intelligence, we're talking CIA, FBI, you name it, and walking right into the private sector. And they're taking all those skills they learned serving the country and putting them to work for a corporation.
I mean, just take a look at who we're dealing with here. The source material points to former CIA agents, officials from the NSA and FBI, even Secret Service veterans and military intelligence officers. These aren't just any PIs. These are folks trained in counterterrorism, in covert ops, and now they're on a corporate payroll.
And look, this isn't just some outsider's opinion. Get this quote is from a former CIA division chief, Melvin Goodman. He calls the entire industry essentially out of control. And when a guy from the inside says that, yeah, you gotta pay attention. So what does this actually look like on the ground? How do these operatives target nonprofits? Well, their playbook is pretty wild, and it runs the gamut from old-school detective work to some seriously high-tech digital warfare. Let's start with a classic, dumpster diving. And this is wild. One security firm actually had its own internal code name for it, a D-line. It sounds low-tech, right? But it's an incredibly effective way to get your hands on things like donor lists, private financial records, or internal strategy memos. And it can get pretty dramatic. This is a real eyewitness account of one of these D-line ops against Greenpeace. We're talking operatives dressed in all black, meeting in back alleys, using walkie-talkies. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It sounds like a scene straight out of Mission Impossible, because it pretty much was. But we're in the 21st century, so it's not all just digging through dumpsters anymore. The tactics have seriously evolved. The playbook now includes things like electronic surveillance, hacking into computer systems, and running these really complex disinformation campaigns. So check this out. This isn't just about spying anymore. This is about playing offense. There was a plan laid out by a group of intelligence contractors. They called themselves Team Themis, and their whole goal was to actively discredit critics. The plan was to create a fake leaked document, feed it to a group like WikiLeaks, and then turn around and publicly expose it as a fake to completely destroy their credibility. This is straight-up information warfare. All right, so who are the players here? Who's doing the spying and who's getting spied on? You might be surprised by just how big this gets. We're not talking about small-time companies. The source material connects some of the biggest corporations on the planet to spying on their critics. You've got household names like Walmart reportedly targeting labor activists, Dow Chemical spying on Greenpeace, even the U.S. Chamber of Commerce going after watchdog groups. So this isn't some rare fringe thing. It's a tool used by the biggest names in the game across almost every industry you can think of. And on the other side, who's in the crosshairs? Well, the list of targets is just as long. We're talking about groups focused on, well, everything. Environmental issues, food safety, animal rights, social justice. The bottom line is, if you're a group that's actually making a difference, actually challenging a big company in a meaningful way, you could become a target. So, okay, We've seen the who, the what, and the how of this whole spooky business. But let's zoom out for a second. Why does any of this actually matter? Why should you care? Because this is where it gets really serious. The argument made in the source material is powerful. This isn't just about some private squabble between a company and a protest group. No, this strikes at the very heart of how a democratic society is supposed to work.
Let's just break it down. Think about it. Democracy needs free and open debate, right? Well, this kind of spying just chills free speech. It makes people afraid to speak out. Democracy needs a strong civil society, but this stuff weakens and attacks the very groups that criticize corporate power. It violates our fundamental right to privacy, and it actively disrupts people's ability to organize.
So here's the real takeaway. When one side in a debate has the power and the money to secretly spy on, infiltrate, and discredit the other side, with basically no consequences, well, that marketplace of ideas we all count on, it's not a level playing field anymore. The game is rigged. And that really brings us to the final, crucial question. This isn't just about corporations versus nonprofits. When our public debate is treated like a secret battlefield, then the real question we have to ask ourselves is, who's the one that really loses?